live. All right. We can do this. We can do church. How many commenters do we have? How many viewers do we have? Why does that number say 0? It's 9:30 a.m. on second Saturday, folks. You whores, get your ass out of bed and get to church. You gotta get there. We go. Now there we go. Okay. Now we're talking. 9:30 a.m. You bitches get your ass out of bed. It's early church this day. Just wanted to let you guys all know. Jenny Gage and I had a good conversation yesterday, and we both agreed Sunday sermons, like, we like them because people have time to do things, but it's also time for family. So it's like, we were thinking, I don't know how many people are out there. You people in the future, what's going on in that? Never mind. I already know. Screw this, man. What about Wednesday church too? Sunday sermon, a Wednesday sermon. We do the Wednesday sermon in the evening when people are off of work, and then we do Oaths of Reason then too. And we'll turn off the stream. Like, we'll keep them on for those people who want it broadcast to the world that they're taking the Oath of Reason. But then afterwards, we'll just have people stay in the StreamYard link. By the way, the StreamYard link is in the description. Don't abuse it, but hey, wander in. It might be cool after sermon to have a quick wrap up. Oh my gosh, it's snowing in Virginia. My partner in Virginia just sent me this picture. Oh my gosh. Is that snow? Yeah, it's gotta be snow. Check that out. Oh, you can't see it. Anyway, but that's basically what it is. If it looks like a whiteout, it's a whiteout in Virginia. Cool. Gross. All right. Hey, you guys are going to notice that instead of the Core Horror sigil up in the corner, we have the QR code where people can finally donate to put blankets on people in Rapture 2025. And I am so in love with it. This solution, you're going to be directed to a website called Zephy. And Zephy basically is a nonprofit that doesn't charge other nonprofits any fees to fundraise for them. And so when you're checking out, you may find a button that says, if you want to help Zephy to continue to fundraise free of fees for other people, you can donate to their nonprofit. It's a pretty clever thing. So basically it means even the credit card processing fees, it covers. So basically every penny that gets donated goes to the work. And none of that money, by the way, goes to the heraldry. If you do want to donate to the heraldry, I can send you my Zelle. And I'd like to say, I would say no to that corruption. But right now, I just don't know. I might be weak. Anyway, so here's how we're going to proceed. We have Jenny Gage in the stage with us. We are going to be doing her Oath of Reason right as soon as we do the opening hymn. And so today, our opening hymn was a big hit on my Facebook page. So you know that this is hot. And it was also a big hit when we streamed it live on Jules' channel on Wednesday. So I said, you know what? We got to do it. If you don't know what a licked cupcake is, like, turn to your Mormon neighbor on your right, turn to your Mormon neighbor on your left and ask them. But our new hymn is called Lick My Cupcake. I really hope that you guys enjoy it. And and then as soon as we're done with that, we'll bring Jenny Gage up. We'll do the Oath of Reason. And then we will start at 10 a.m. promptly. We're going to start church. I might have a little conversation with Jenny because we had talked about a couple of things that we had wanted to get covered while we're online. So I hope that you whores enjoy Lick My Cupcake.
Gum stuck to my shoe, heavy petting in the neon hue, cracked vase on the kitchen floor. I get what I want, then I want more. Soaking in the bathtub fizz, the way you look at me is a quiz. Hair teased high like a wild storm, in your arms I so warm. Lick my cupcake, sweet sensation. It's the sugar-coated invitation. Don't you know it's such a sin when you don't dig in? Rip tights and a leather jacket. Got a secret, can you hack it? Lights blur as we drive fast. Make this moment last and last. Pink lipstick on your collar screen. We make a pretty reckless team. 80s music in the air. Nobody else can compare. Lick my cupcake, sweet sensation. It's a sugar-coated invitation. Don't you know it's such a sin when you don't dig in? When you don't dig in.
Cuts off abruptly because it's she just goes over the bridge in the chorus. But come on, you guys, come on. Like, are you kidding me? My office is a disaster. Am I publishing this to the world? Longitude, help me out. Help a brother out. Oh my God. I mean, when I say a brother in Korahor. I'm not claiming to be like that kind of brother, not like a brother. Whoa. Settle down. Hey, you whores, be calm. Just be calm. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Let's bring up Jenny Gage and let's do the oath of reason. Ladies and gentlemen, soon to be interim second herald of the Church of Korahor, Jenny Gage. Jenny!
Good morning. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you great. How are you?
That opening hymn just healed a part of my broken young woman's self who was 14 years old in the 1980s. So thank you for that. Joe, you kill me. Oh, I love it.
I love it. Hey, you know what? One of the values of Korahorism is sacrilege and blasphemy, at least so far. And I say, you know what? If we're going to blaspheme anything, let it be that sex shaming, body shaming, gender shaming, misogyny. I mean, there's so much wrong with the licked cupcake thing. There's so much wrong with it, and so I'm glad. I'm glad it healed something.
Thank you.
Are we ready to do this?
Yeah. What do we do?
Okay. So first, you'll stand up where you can see you standing, and then you place your left hand on your heart. You place your right hand way up high.
Hold on. Let me move my chair.
It's good for us to train Jenny because she's going to be doing this. Cool. All right. And you repeat after me. Hold on. We got to make this official. We got the first ever very badly treated Korahor stole that is dyed to the color of the ministry. Okay. Ready?
One that you hand dyed yourself. You're so crafty. Okay, here we go.
I know, right? I am crafty. All right. From this breath to my last breath.
From this breath to my last breath.
I state your name.
I, Jenny Gage.
Do hereby swear.
Do hereby swear.
That I embrace the teachings.
That I embrace the teachings.
Of my exemplar Korahor.
Of my exemplar Korahor.
Abandoning all gods.
Abandoning all gods.
I seek only the light of reason.
I seek only the light of reason.
And I renounce membership in every other church.
And I renounce membership in every other church.
Please receive me into fellowship.
Please receive me into fellowship.
With the Church of Korahor, amen.
with the Church of Korihor. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen of the fellowship, we warmly welcome Jenny Gage into the Church of Korihor. Yeah! Now, somebody out there, go ahead and join in with us to say, wasn't she already a director? Shush, 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 shush. We're making it official because we're moving Jenny from the directors over to the heralds so that I don't have to do all this by myself and so that we have a woman in the room making decisions, not just any woman, making this woman. I got to tell you guys, I've said this many times before, Jenny Gage, you are a person with a natural gift for leadership. And when you gave your sermon on the second sermon given for the whole history of the Church of Korihor, I saw why, because you talked about the good women in your life who were your leaders and your family who taught you how to be a leader. And I just thought, you know what? We're missing out. The Mormon Church doesn't know this. I said this recently to a person I'm not going to name right now publicly because we haven't had any agreement, but you know who I'm talking about, Jenny. Yeah. And I said to her, I don't know if you realize this, but the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has no eye for talent and doesn't realize that they are missing out on the best talent in the church, in the Mormon Church, because they don't ordain women. And we're starting out different. We know the difference. We see talent where it exists. And that's you, Jenny. That's definitely you.
Oh, thank you, Joe. And I will say, because I'm very triggered by leaders, that I think all of us have the capacity to lead, and talents and skills, that we have as individuals. And what I love about this little pack of people that we're kind of putting together here in our atheist church is that we all have different leadership capacity in different areas. We're all an opportunity to kind of lean into those talents and actually do something with them. It is funny. Mormon for 44 years, and I was always I was Relief Society presidency at age 17 when I went to college, and then 3 different Relief Society presidencies, president, primary president, temple worker for a long time. All the things that I did, I never asked for, and I was always put into these roles that really weren't right for me at times in my life that it was a disaster. The very first time I was called into Young Women's presidency was the night before my he was born. I just did a video on this week. I was 22, 23 years old, and the bishopric calls and says, "Hey, we need to come talk to you." And they come over to my house. I'm I'm packing my suitcase. I'm having my baby tomorrow morning. I was being induced. So only 4:00 tomorrow, I'm having my baby. And it's I really don't even want to talk to you guys. I don't want you coming over to my house. So our bishopric in Gilbert, Arizona comes over to the home of little 23-year-old me. And they said, "We're rearranging the Young Women's presidency." We had a double Young Women's. We had so many, Gilbert, Arizona. We had 1 million little Mormon teenagers. And we'd like to be the first counselor in the Young Women's organization. And I didn't ask for that. I didn't have the talents for it. It was in a time in my life when I could do it. And I said no. I was I cannot possibly do that. I'm going to have this baby tomorrow. It's my first baby. And I plan on staying home for the next 3 months so that I can bond with my baby, figure out how to change diapers and nurse, and just keep up with life. I don't plan on even being at church for at least the next 3 months. That's what my pediatrician recommended. And that bishopric bullied me spiritually into taking that calling. And I said yes. I was okay, no. I'll do it. I had the baby on Monday. On Sunday, I was in church, still bleeding, leaking nipples, the whole 9 yards. And I taught 6 months worth of lessons with the Hooter hiker, and really standing, rocking the baby, nursing the baby while teaching. Was it the Laurels that I was over, or was it the Maya Maids? I don't remember, but teaching my girls. And my ex-husband was also the Young Men's president. So every Wednesday night we had to drag the baby to church, and it just never gave me the opportunity as a member of the church to utilize my talents and say, "Hey, I would really love to be in this calling or that calling." That's actually not how it works at all. Like if you ask for a calling, they're like, no, we're not going to give that to you. So Joe, I love that as you put together a coalition of other atheists that are supporting this movement and helping other people, that you're looking for who has this talent or that talent and just asking us, hey, where can I plug you in?
I love it. And I love it because, frankly, I mean, the less we do things like other churches, the better off everybody is. In fact, you and I had a conversation about it yesterday, and I wondered, should we share what we talked about yesterday?
Yeah, I would love to.
Cool. So I was, we've been talking about shared myth ever since Britt Hartley talked to me about we need, the thing that will cause Church of Korihor to fail. There's so many ways in which we are going to fail and learn. But the thing that causes most churches established like this one for atheists and agnostics is that we don't have a shared myth. And I said, well, easy, Korihor. Korihor is a myth. And she's like, no. And I said, well, why not? And she said, because you're basically relearning the lesson that the Satanic Temple has learned. You don't believe in this person's actual existence. And I'm like, okay, so the shared myth has to be something that we actually believe happened or is realistic. Now, I've gotten different takes from different people on that, but I do think Britt's right on that. I think she called it. And so I was talking to Jenny yesterday about what I believe our shared myth is the light of reason. And I just wanted to go over that real quickly, like what it means to me so far. I've been thinking I'm probably going to wind up adding into, I've been putting together something called the Korihor canon. I don't know what we're going to call it officially, but the canonization of several different things. We've got pieces of The Age of Reason by Thomas Paine in there. We got some feminist works in there. I've been compiling it, but I've been thinking we're going to need to put the Light of Reason, the story in there, right? And for me, it's like this, okay? The James Webb Space Telescope is floating out there at Lagrange Point 2, I believe, and it's basically cartwheeling around the solar system with us, with planet Earth. Basically with constantly eclipsed by the planet Earth and with its sun shields out to make sure that its equipment's not being damaged or overwhelmed by our sun's radiation. So it has these shields, these beautiful kept on shields that just flare out all of the sun's radiation, because this camera is an infrared camera. The equipment is a complex infrared telescope. And here's the thing, though. If our sun were deleted, it would be really bad for us. If our planet were deleted, boy, it would be really bad for us. And all the other beings on this planet were deleted from the equation, boy, would it be bad for you. But if you somehow were to survive, just you, and the James Webb Space Telescope, for the first time ever, only time ever, were to turn around and look back to where we are now, it would see you because you emit infrared light. And this telescope that can see back to almost the Big Bang would see you glowing the way that an owl would see you if you were out late at night. And it's like, oh, that looks tasty. A little too big to bite, but tasty because you're glowing light. And is it any wonder? Because you are a star child. You think of this. There was Lawrence Krauss. I'm just calling it out. I'm not supposed to say his name anymore. I get that, but I don't believe in canceling people. Lawrence Krauss from there in Arizona said this once, and it just blew my mind. He said, if you take an atom in your left hand, any atom of hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, carbon, probably carbon, and you take any atom from your right hand and just randomly select those two atoms, both of those atoms were forged in the heart of a star that died. And the chances of those two atoms having come from the same star is so probabilistically low as to be virtually impossible. So you think that's how many stars died in the making of you, resurrected as this light. And then for this brief moment, it's tempting for us as humans who evolved to go out there and find where are the others, and to think, is that the others, and are they competitors or are they friends? And so our brains look to something like that and go, oh, it's all a plan. It's got to be a plan. Some planner had to make that happen. And it seems logical sometimes, but it's not. The truth is, there is no plan. There's no planner. This is a very humdrum normal thing to happen in the universe. If anything, we learned from the SETI experiments and the SETI research, it's that planets like ours, like Earth, are actually fairly humdrum in the universe. It's very plausible, not only in the distant galaxies somewhere or the other end of the Milky Way, but here in our cosmic universe, there are planets like ours. And there may be in some of the nearest stars to us, people looking up at the sky and going, that one has oxygen. That one has a planet that has oxygen, has water on it. It could sustain life like ours. And they're probably saying to themselves, yeah, but what are the chances? I mean, there's only one in their solar system. And it's like, we are here. We are here. Like Horton, here's a who, right? We are here. But then again, and our xenophobia would panic and say, we don't need to do that. Let's find out how much like us these beings are before we go and advertise to them like we are here. But yeah. So this is what I believe, and it is something I actually believe, and it's something that is not necessarily sustained by science, but it is based on science. So just everybody, give me a little room with this. If I believe that there is a shared myth, it is the light of reason, and that is this: you and I, we glow, we emit actual light into this universe because we are star children, and we do it only from one moment prior to which we didn't exist to another moment after which we don't exist. And that's when I say we flash in the dark. That's what I'm talking about. In the great cosmic scale of 14 billion, probably more, years of the evolution of this universe, we are such a small flash of light, each of us individually. And yet we are here not by our choice, but from the moment that we are aware that we have choice, whether that's a free will or not. I believe in a compatibilist structure. That's not necessarily true. But even if it were true, if in order to do anything, you'd have to believe that some kind of free will either exists or that you ought to behave as if free will exists. And so with this brief flash of light, you're either creating something or you're letting everything just happen to you. And most of us, most of our lives are just letting things happen to us. And because we get overwhelmed. And it's so easy in that moment to say, you know what, though? God has a plan. And say, there's got to be a cosmic plan to why this suffering has to happen in the world. And most of life is suffering. And so you can look at it and you can say, well, we just let bad things happen because it's all part of a grander plan. But the fact of the matter is, if there's a planner here, Jenny, it's you and it's me. We are the ones reasoning in this light, and we are emitting this creative power into the universe. We are, strangely enough, it's very much like a passage from the Book of Mormon. I can't believe I'm about to do this. But there's a passage in there's a passage in the Book of Mormon which is written by a pervert and an a-hole named Joseph Smith, who was a fairly clever theologian, actually. And he said, there are things to act and things to be acted upon. And if there's anything out of the Book of Mormon I like besides the story of Korihor, which I love and hate at the same time, because it's the story of my exemplar who was martyred by Christian apathy. I won't back down from that. And it's this idea that there are things to act and things to be acted upon. And it's like, okay, so there's a difference between matter that reasons and matter that doesn't, right? And matter that chooses versus matter that doesn't. And when we are acting most like a child of God, in the perspective of the Book of Mormon. It's when we choose to act rather than to be acted upon. And I believe something like that. I believe there's this great philosopher and psychologist named Rollo May, who said once in a book I loved, where he basically makes it clear, like, look, there's the world as you see it, and it's all inside your head. And we know this because of neuropsychology, neuropharmacology, anatomy. You have the world. You think that you see all these other people. You think you see this world around you, but it is just a projection of your mind, taking the electrical signals from your senses and rebuilding it. And that's why sometimes you see things that aren't really there. And sometimes you think you remember things, by the time Sam Harris says, by the time you actually see and hear me speaking, it's already a memory. And you know this because your eyesight, what you see, travels to your brain at a different rate of speed than what you hear. And yet you're seeing me, you're seeing my lips move, and you're hearing my voice, and it's synced up inside your brain right now. That tells you right now, everything you see, you think you see and experience in the world and hear and smell and taste, it's all a projection of your mind. And when your mind, the world as it actually is different from the world as you see it in your head. When you can see those layers mixing and realize it's not what I want it to be, it's not what I think it is, it's got to be different. That's the root of what we call anxiety. And so that when people can't rest, you can't sleep at night, you don't know how to handle stress in your life, all of that is anxiety. It is the light of reason within you trying to clash against the world, trying to flash against the world and say, stop it, stop being so terrible, stop being so vicious, stop being like this, stop being like that. And it wants to grab a hold of the world and bend it to your will. And that light of reason, that flashes in us, and it doesn't flash in a rock. I'm sorry, it doesn't. I know it's tempting for some people to believe that a rock thinks like we think. No, it doesn't. It doesn't have a brain. Now, a sea turtle, that's a different thing. A whale is a very different thing. Whales, for all we know, the wisest beings on this planet right now may be the whales. I don't know if you've seen the orcas, the killer whales out there are actually sinking yachts in the Mediterranean right now, and we are. And every time I send it to my partner, and I'm like, they got another one. And I kind of love it. So that, for me, at least, is the root of what I believe is the light of reason. So I just thought I'd share that with you.
Hold on, let me take my mic off because I think it's kind of quiet. Joe, that was so great. I'm hearing all kinds of elevation emotion, and this is one of the best sermons that I've ever heard in my life. And just a thought having of everything that you've just said, and also we're going to take this little mini snippet separate from the sermon that's going to be aired here in about 5 minutes or so. And this will be our Wednesday sermon for the week. So we're going to do some little mini thoughts on Wednesdays and kind of go into just in our beliefs and what we're hoping to do here. So that was beautiful. And one thing that I was thinking as I left religion myself, so first I left Mormonism, converted to Christianity, spent 4.5 years there, and then became atheist and dropped into the nihilistic void. I remember thinking, how am I going to live without all the supernatural miraculousness of religion? Because those beliefs gave me so much hope, and I guess kind of kept me from being bored with life too. Like at the end of the day, nihilism is just very boring. There's no purpose. So what am I doing? It's very flat. And as I started to study science, history, I studied everything, any type of, chemistry, all of the sciences. As I started to study things that we have evidence for their reality, I found that reality is far more miraculous than any fairy tale that I ever learned in church. Just digging into the, basic history of humans, of the soil. I got into this big botany kick where I was studying plant life and evolution of plants, and I found it far more stimulating and miraculous than anything I had ever read in the scriptures. So everything you just said was so beautiful, so scientifically founded. And Joe, I just so appreciate everything that we do. Do you know that this morning, right before I came on, I did this whole little thing of what I believe?
Oh my gosh. No,
And I think it's only 1 minute, because it is everything that you just said. This is kind of like my thoughts around the light of reason. For so many years, even as a believing member of the church, I sometimes questioned, why do we have to believe that there's something higher out there than just the miraculous fact that my brain exists, that my mind exists, my consciousness, my ability to maneuver in the world and to make decisions on the turn of a dime. I went for a hike yesterday. I knew where to plant my feet to keep myself from falling down the side of the cliff. That's miraculous. Why do I need a man in the sky to be any more miraculous than that? So as we were discussing yesterday, your light of reason and how we shine and all of that, I think it just hit me so hard that I think there is as much miracle in the light of reason, and the fact that I am able to hold this microphone and think about what you're saying and respond to you, and that I have this wireless electrical system that doesn't need to be plugged into anything, that's keeping my heart beating while we talk. That's all the miracle that I need. So I kind of stripped this morning our conversation into some of the things I believe around the light of reason. I believe that humans are born with all the instincts we need to have happy, healthy, beneficial lives without the need of an outside power, scripture, or religion to guide us. And that the way we tune into that instinct is our reason. I believe in the organic perfection of the intergenerational human tribe, and that packs, not nuclear families, are the answer to our current relational crisis. I believe we have a mother, she is Earth, and that we are all individual cells of a living molecule whose very carbon bits, so your stardust are like, Spirit told me what you're going to say today. I'm just kidding. I have to be a little bit satirical. Sorry. Individual cells of a living molecule whose very carbon bits we carry in every cell in our body, and that our mother should be loved and respected as she is our source, our home, and caretaker we will pass to our children when we die. I believe life is the ultimate in holiness, and that each human creature on earth warrants our awe and acknowledgement. And that's about it.
I love it.
That's
I love it.
articles of faith right there. That light of reason is within all of us. I spent 44 years of my life thinking I needed the answers from General Conference, a patriarchal blessing, from the Holy Ghost telling me this or telling me that, when actually the instincts that I have to problem solve are the most miraculous capacity that I have.
I love it, Jenny. Jenny, thank you for that enlightenment. See?
Well,
what
thank you. Amen to everything that you said.
She says she's not a natural leader, but guys, look at that. I mean, did you just witness this? I mean, the word of Jenny.
I don't say that I'm not a natural leader. I'm a big sister, so I was raised to be a leader, and I was a church leadership coach, so I've definitely been conditioned to be a leader. What I believe is that we all have leadership capacities, but we don't necessarily all have the same skills in the same areas. So we all have the capacity to lead in some way.
I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been enlightened by the word of Jenny. I love it. We do want to get on to our Sunday sermon for the day. I didn't see any votes yet because we don't have everybody here. But here, let me kick this. We're going to start out with another hymn and get Jules Treasures kicked off with a sermon. We're going to go ahead and excuse Jenny because she needs to spend time with her kids. Jenny, thank you for being here. Thank you for taking the oath of reason. You are one of my very favorite choir whores. I do want you to know that.
Thanks, Joe. You're one of my favorite whores, too. Okay, I'm going to be listening. It'll be in my pocket with my earbuds. So thank you so much, Joe. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Guys, come on. we're going to go ahead and start with our sermon here. We're going to kick off with another sermon, another hymn, so we get in the mood for things. And then I am going to drop down and let Jules Del Sol take over this stream and sermonize to us. I hope to be enlightened, and then maybe we have another hymn. A last chance for anybody who objects to O Korihor for the reopening hymn. Anybody? Any objections? I'm gonna go ahead and pretend like there's a lot of people making comments. Right? Yep. Okay, good. Let's do it. So let's go share. Let's go video and O Korihor.
Oh, Korihor, who for truth and reason spoke forbidden truths, you knew to make men free by Alma's hand. Unholy maleficium stole your voice for Nephite tyranny. Ignite my mind from dark hypocrisy. Start to be free. He died for me. Ignite my mind. All dogma be consumed. O Korihor, I'll speak for you. Contrary to law, they bound you for thinking, but without a word, they all debates forfeit. Battle of wits, charlatans unarmed, beguile their sheep with their holy bullshit. Ignite my mind from dark hypocrisy. Start to be free. He died for me. Ignite my mind. All dogma be consumed. O Korihor, I'll speak for you. Sacrifice to God, cast you on their unmercy. O Simonists, Mammon's altar for to feed. O wicked duress, they broke your solemn mind, crucified you with bread to fuel their heartless greed. Ignite my mind from dark hypocrisy. Start to be free. He died for me. Ignite my mind. All dogma be consumed. O Korihor, I'll speak for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Sunday sermon for today was delivered by none other than Jules Del Sol, who has been 1 week a Korihor, and I asked her, please share with us something from your heart. I'm very proud to say that she is here with us. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Jules Del Sol.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I am Jules, and I'm glad to do the Sunday sermon. Joe asked me through the week, and today I do want to talk about arrows in our lives. And the reason I picked this because I'm also an ex-Mo, and I know if I explained this to people back when I was in the LDS church, they would probably say this was a miracle. But truly in our lives, many times we are challenged But the reasons we are challenged is because we're going to move forward because we are being pulled back. I am big into archery. So that's why I got this comparison. During the challenge that we all had was during COVID, which was a big time for me. I got a good job with the Department of Veterans Affairs. And during that time, I got this tattoo of an arrow. Now, this arrow, if you look at the arrow that was on the thumbnail, actually represents the same one. The only thing that was different than the one that is in that target is actually this arrowhead. I usually use field points, but this arrowhead is actually from, if you ever watched the Green Arrow TV show, that's where it's from. Because I was big, there's two archers that always called my attention that are fictional. One would be Robin Hood. Hence, I'm wearing the green today to represent these two archers. And there's Robin Hood, and the other one was the Green Arrow, or also known as Oliver Queen. Now, this is a shot that I did in my backyard when I lived in Florida. I stood 20 yards away from this, and it was just a little bit of a challenge I did for myself. I wondered, can I make this shot? And those water bottles are about 24 inches apart from each other. So I measured 20 yards in my backyard. This has been a while back because this was before Hurricane Irma. So I stood 20 yards back and, with just, focusing with my mind and, some deep breathing, as many people that make shots. I took one shot and made it between both water bottles. So it was just good concentration and to be able to make these two water bottle shots. Actually, I have one where I made it through 4. Now I had to use thicker water bottles because for the 4 shot because these 2 would fall apart. Now, when I look at fictional archers, there's 3 out there that always stand out in my mind. One would be Robin Hood, the other would be the Green Arrow, and there's Hawkeye, but Hawkeye doesn't really stand out to me because the Green Arrow and Robin Hood were always people that wanted to help others, and I think this is something that stands out with the Church of Korihor. Now, there's another thing that really, really stands out for me about arrows. Arrows have a big meaning in our life, and not till I got this did I one day I was going through the internet, and I think it was when I was focusing on getting it, I found the meaning of an arrow. So I did find the exact the exact site that I found this, and I printed it out. So this is something that we all face throughout our lives, and we can really focus about it whenever we do get challenges. So here is the symbolism of an arrow in our life. Basically, an arrow can only be shot by pulling it backward. While life is dragging you back with difficulties, it means it's going to launch you into something great. So just focus and keep aiming. So yes, many times in our life, we are pulled back because we have a challenge. And with that challenge, eventually it's going to let us go and gives us that time to move forward. And we always want to move forward in a certain goal that we have. And throughout my life, I've had many challenges. There are lots of them. I can tell you when I was about 8, there was a time I got in a pool, and as I was walking into the pool, I got too far into that deep end. I remember I can still focus and tell you, yes, my father had to come get me. It was, I wouldn't have probably drowned had he not come in. But sure enough, I learned to swim, and later in my life, I did become in high school. I did become a swimmer on the swim team, and that was a 4-year varsity. Um, to move on, the next year, I became an ocean lifeguard, and that kind of trickled into many, many jobs. Um, so from an ocean lifeguard, it kind of helped me become a road medic, which was something that I always looked forward to. Um, and many of you know, if you look at the name of my channel, it does say Area 5T1, and 51 has been significant in my lifetime. That's what always inspired me to be a road medic. I don't know how many of you ever saw a show on TV called Emergency One. It focused on the creation of the paramedic program in Los Angeles, and and the squad number was 51. Also, I used to have an office at a pharmaceutical research facility, and it was called Area 51. It was its nickname. So that was a big challenge I had. So becoming a lifeguard and then eventually a road medic. Many other challenges I have um, faced. I have been an epileptic my whole life, so I've always had that challenge. People always ask me, "Do I drive?" And yes, I've had challenges in the fact that when I was 18, I had gotten my driver's license at 16. I hadn't had a seizure in a very long time. At 18, I had a breakthrough one, and sure enough, they yanked my license. Uh, and for an 18-year-old to not have a driver's license, it's not right. You focus so much on having one. You have your vehicle. I was big into customizing cars at that time. So it was really yanking me back because uh, I couldn't do what I liked. I couldn't go hang out with my friends at you know, the cruising site. So I felt, challenged because I couldn't really do what I wanted to do. Um, and I, I was being pulled back. Eventually, sure enough, I was cleared. And then you know, I was able to start doing what I liked again. Um, and continuing on this topic about my epilepsy, I look at it and look into the future of what would happen. And when I moved to Florida, I found out about a surgeon there that would do brain surgery to relieve it. So I really started looking into it, and my neurologist was really it knew this doc and said he would send me there. And I had to go through 2 years of testing. And when Joe mentioned uh, neuropsychology today in his talk, it really reminded me of that because I had to go to a neuropsychologist, and going with the neuropsychologist was very, very different. In fact, my wife at the time and I would call him the creepy doc because he was out there. He would repeat himself a lot about the surgical plan, and probably in the talk we had with him after all the testing, he said the word surgical plan around 30 times. So it came around the time they finally approved for me to go basically under the knife to get brain surgery to remove a part of my brain that caused the seizures. I remember going up there to Tampa General Hospital, and they were wheeling me into the OR, and we were in the pre-op area. And I know my wife kept asking me, "Do you really want to do this? Do you really want to do this?" And I said, "Yes, I've been challenged with this all my life. I feel like it pulls me back, and I want to be able to live a life without this issue that I've had all my life. It started at 9 months old. I just want to move forward. And sure enough, came the other challenge. They went in, did the surgery. When I came out of surgery, I was fine. And they took me to my room. And I can remember, I can't tell you the exact year that this happened. Actually, it was around 2007. So, because I remember my daughter being about 7 years old. And sure enough, they told me, hey, we didn't get the effect that we wanted. So, best is if you go home. And, I was still having seizures at the time because I was, one, taken off my meds in the hospital. And so they wanted them to happen. They had put internal electrodes in the brain. They eventually had to take them out. So that was surgery number 2 while in the hospital. And so came the ultimate part of being pulled back in this situation. They were going to discharge me. And when I went to sleep. And when I went to sleep, I told my wife to wake me up. I wanted to watch the NASCAR race because it was going to be Jimmy Johnson's 5th title in a row. I'm a big Jimmy Johnson fan. He comes from the same city I lived in. He's from San Diego, California, actually El Cajon, which is part of the county of San Diego. And in high school, I actually swam against him. So came a time to go home, and she woke me up, and I didn't wake up. For 3 days, I was in a coma. And I remember being able to see everything going around me. And what happened was eventually the doc said the only other way to do this is to go back in and see what's going on. And so I remember in the hospital for 3 days and, being, this challenge for me where I was just laying there, not being able to talk. And, that felt more and more of that bow, like that arrow gets pulled back very, very slow. And when you are pulling on that arrow, when you, pull back in archery, it's very, very slow as you pull back that arrow. So eventually they said that there was probably from the internal electrodes in the brain, there was probably glue left over, which caused inflammation. So I spent a few more days. I remember it was Thanksgiving, and it was November 27th, which was my daughter's birthday. And I finally woke up. First thing I said was my daughter's name. And automatically my wife called my ex-wife and said, put my daughter on the line because I wanted to speak to her. And basically that is the only word that ever came back to me at that time. So with time, I remember I would grab my laptop, I would read something, and it was like an elementary school kid. You would put your finger on the what you were reading and slowly move and read each word. So slowly I came back. I moved forward. Just as it was like that arrow was let go, and they offered me speech therapy, and I said no. And I wanted to face this challenge myself and move forward like that arrow to hit the target, which was me to go home and get my speech back. And like we say, most people would call this a miracle if people that believe in God, but no, I don't. And I can see that, reflect back on this and see this was a challenge that was placed to me, and I took it on myself. Not believing in any deity, entity, like Jenny Gates stated, someone that's up in the sky. looking down on us. I faced this myself. I decided to move forward like that arrow, and my target was hit. I was able to start talking again. I was able to move forward. I did spend like 3 months at home, but everything I did was to be able to get to where I was, basically to my baseline, which is in medicine what is considered your norm. Um, and I made it. I did it myself. It was, um, no blessing that was ever given. Everything was done because of my focus on moving forward, like the arrow to hit the target. So I kept focusing on that. At home, I would read and read more. I would do everything I could to face that challenge that was given to me as I was pulled back. Uh, so I really wanted to share all this with you because I could keep going on with many challenges that I had in life. And it was just that motion is we're pulled back and eventually that challenge stops, but then we move forward because uh, that's what it's meant to be. Um, and I mean, there are lots of times, and basically, I wanted to just really share this with all of you here in the Church of Core. Um, Another challenge to me was my time in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Yes, there was all these restrictions and things that we covenant to do, and um, I mean, even the challenge was from day one. First sacrament meeting I went to was a fasting testimony meeting, and I really saw the culty side of it on day one. So, I was always having these challenges and kept putting them away as I've seen people say, you put them on the shelf. Eventually, my shelf broke, and recently it was demolished, I can say. And I really, really, I finally left about 3 or 4 years ago. And I said, you know what, I'm going to move forward from here. And recently, Joe contacted me as he saw something on my channel. He came into one of my live streams, and as he explained to me what the Church of Core was about, I really, really liked it. And last week, I was able to take my oath of reason, which was really, really, helped me out in moving forward. I have explained to him I do want to start the Luminary program. I now live here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and see so many people that are homeless and need to be wrapped up in blankets. So this is the other part. This is my current part in moving forward. I do want to help in Project Rapture here in Albuquerque because I see so many people on the way to work that need blankets. And I just wanted to share with you the parts of my life that have been challenging and have been like that arrow where I have been pulled back, but I've moved forward after it let me go. I want to say thank you to all of you for listening to my sermon here. And I do want to say congrats to Jenny for taking the oath of reason. And and I was glad to take it last week. And we can move forward from here. So thanks to all of you. And basically, let's go on.
Love it. Guys, do we get the best talent or don't we? Like I was telling Jenny Gage a moment ago, churches, especially when they don't ordain women, as it turns out, this happens to be one woman who was ordained in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but that's only because they didn't know she was a woman. It's very clandestine and sneaky of you, Jules. But no, but we are very fortunate to have Jules in the church and soon to be in the ministry. So Jules, I want to honor your journey and thank you very much for being here today and for sharing us this wonderful sermon.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to have a little bit of fun. If anybody wants to join into to the live stream, you should see the link to the live stream in the StreamYard. Let's see here. Yep, in the description of the video. Anybody wants to join in and just kind of share your feelings about this sermon and or about what's been happening with the Church of Korihor lately, you're welcome to. Otherwise, we will wrap up and with some announcements. And so what we're going to do now is we'll go ahead and have one more hymn. This hymn there is going to be "We're Going Home," and all I have to do is find it, and then that'll give us some time that anybody who wants to can join into the StreamYard. Otherwise, I have some announcements about some big changes that are happening in the Church of Korihor for the near future. All right, and until that moment, we're going home.
Guide me by morning light, keeping home in my sight. With doubts and dreams take flight. We flash in the dark, so let's flash bright. On a mission to save ourselves, break with dogma with these shelves. My friend, if you choose to be free, I'll light your path if you'll walk with me. We're going home to where we'll find a world where life is worth the climb. One day we will crash and we will die. Oh, my friends, that's not tonight. No more shadows in our mind. Leave the fears and past behind. On this pale blue dot, we will make our stand. Light within, we will be your hands. We're going home to where we'll find a world where life is worth the climb. One day we will crash and we will die. Oh, my friends, that's not tonight. By math and science, our path is clear. Strangers once, our re-entry nears. Sighting land, we'll quit this sea. I'm going home. Who will come with me?
We want to thank Susan from the Church of Korihor, which is the name of the model at Suno that sings these songs. I definitely have been working on some that have masculine voices. Oh, I have this great one I've been working on. I can't wait. It's called More Money Than God. And I can't wait to share it with people. Yeah, I've been working on it. I was going to play it. I would play it now, but the fact of the matter is I am going to sing it. So that's going to be an interesting development. But I developed it with a Johnny Cash register. I told it to put it in a key that Johnny Cash would sing in the style of Johnny Cash. And it is pretty good for the Man in Black. I think the Man in Black would approve. This Man in Black does. And we're going to have to put that off till next Sunday. I was going to show the We're Going Home devotional video, they didn't finish it. I stayed up late, and then my partner Winter was like, Joe, go to bed. And I was like, yeah. So I went to bed because I do what Winter tells me to do. So I just wanted to share some announcements of some things. Yeah, again, there is the QR code up in the corner. We would like to invite everybody to please, if you can, donate what you can to Rapture 2025, which is our operation to get people out of the cold here in Utah in 2025. What we're going to do is this, and on the link, it's going to say that any funds after we raise enough funds to make and distribute 300 blankets here in Utah, that any additional funds will go to the effort that we are putting together to purchase a church building. I'm going to go ahead and say that's going to change. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the description on that so that people know. Because what's going to happen is after that, after we raise enough to put 300 blankets on people here in the Church of Korihor, we are going to expand this operation to other states like into New Mexico, where Jules is, so that we can start doing this in other states also. And so I will be ordaining Jules to the luminary. She will be the first person ordained to the luminaries. Luminaries are our missionaries who are not necessarily members of the church, though they can join the church, as Jules has done. And they do our missionary work, which is to not to go out and knock on people's doors and annoy their neighbors, but to do things like bringing blankets and putting blankets on people. And also, we're going to be opening missions of reason that will be in charge of job skills training for people. We're going to start missions of reason that will be starting libraries and converting church buildings into libraries wherever we can across the country. And also, and I don't know, I'd love to know what people think about this idea, is that, hey, welcome into the group, you guys. That's great. I got a glimpse of the comments. I have to not look at it too closely. One of the things that we've been looking at doing is buying churches and taking the spire off of them, take the steeple off, not the whole steeple, leave part of it, just the point with like the cross or whatever is up there, and then putting a camera on top that's a full spectrum camera, maybe just an infrared camera that will have a 360 degree times 180 degree, a dome view of the sky. And then we can put like a geodesic dome in front of the building and allow people, so that people can go in and activate that camera, and it'll project onto the ceiling all the sky that you can see from that steeple, if you were able to see through the infrared spectrum, the same spectrum that the James Webb Space Telescope uses to look up into the sky. I think it could be pretty cool. Maybe we do like a full spectrum thing. Maybe we do different lenses or filters on it. I know that there are cameras that can do all of this, but can you imagine how amazing it would be at no cost if these churches that are failing all across the country were planetariums to look at the night sky through eyes that see beyond our visible light spectrum. I mean, wouldn't that be amazing? I love that, Huggy Bear. So Korihor.org currently has a page for luminaries, and it's not got a lot on it. So we're going to be developing that. I was going to do it this week. I ended up spending the whole week wrestling with banks, trying to get all of the banking set up for the church, which we finally did. Very happy to say we now have our banking set up through a bank in New England called Middlesex Financial. Welcome, Middlesex Financial, to the Korihors. And I had to wrestle with Zephy for a while there, so that because they at first were like, they didn't recognize this bank, and then somebody had to actually like manually, I think, over there at Zephy, actually push it through to go, oh no, that's a real bank, they can do that, and then we were approved. So I just found out on Friday, after wrestling with banks all week, we finally have oh wow. Well, but Huggy, we'll work it out. We'll get in touch. We'll get in touch. We'll figure something out. Look, we need luminaries. My vision, my friends, is that this year we are going to have 100 luminaries at least before the end of the year, all across this country. I'd love to have at least 2 luminaries in every state. And some of these people will be dedicating all their time to just one mission of reason. Others, like I'm thinking probably Jules will be one of them. I haven't talked to her about it, so we'll discuss that. We'll be involved in multiple missions of reason, and we will get people involved so that when something needs to be done to make a mission move forward, let's say that we're going to have more ceremonies out in a place, or we're going to start actively pushing to advertise that our luminaries are available to perform your wedding. We'll be doing more of that, and of course we will have an ongoing seminary. We don't call it seminary, we call it symposium. We'll be having an ongoing symposium. I also would love to know what people think, and you're welcome to go to our website at korahor.org and use the contact form. Any thoughts that you have or feelings about what you'd like to see change, or things that you see for the future, or questions that you have, you're welcome to go and contact us there. And of course, show up to our lives. Make sure you subscribe to the lives, because this is where we're most active, is here on YouTube. Okay, so what was I telling you about? I didn't get that much sleep, you guys. Yes. So Rapture 2025, I am going to try and commit pretty much all of the funds that come into that to Just Blankets for now. So, but I did mention before, I think I mentioned here on Sunday Sermon, but most of you have heard me mention this, that we are going to sell some coins, these challenge coins called Korahor coins. That will be challenge coins, and that will be our operation to finance purchasing a church here in Utah where we can install a 24-hour library. The idea is that a 24-hour library is a temperature-controlled place where people can get in and out of the cold. And we're going to have reading nooks where people can go and curl up with a good book for a while, stay for a while, maybe stay all night and read a book. And, you can tell they can zone, and they can, ordinance out opening warming centers in Salt Lake to keep people out in the cold. Why Christian people supposedly want to do that? Well, you know what our opinion is on that. Well, you know what mine is anyway. But they can't stop you from having a 24-hour library where people can go and read. And here's the thing. Warming centers are one thing. We can put blankets on people in the cold. We don't have the money to open a facility right now. We don't have that kind of money. But what happens when it gets hot? Because here in Utah, it gets hot enough to do people in. Okay. And there's only so many layers you can take off. And especially if you're sleeping rough, especially if you're out in the elements. And so if these churches, if they can't use them for worshiping God, we'll use it to worship the light of reason. And part of that will be a temperature controlled area where people can get out of the heat, where people can get out of the cold, and you're not going to get turned away. You're going to be welcome. And, go curl up with a book and fill your head with something beautiful. And then we have other plans. I'm not going to mention this. There's talk about that we're going to develop an app. I'm not going to mention much more about that because we haven't talked about it in depth yet, or worked out all the resources for it. But our humanitarian work is going to expand to many more people than just people who are part of the Church of Korahor, we are going to go out and do humanitarian aid where we actually take individual people who are out on the streets, who are living in their cars, and we start helping them individually to get into a better situation, get job skills training if that's something they need, get mental health care if that's something that they need, get physical health care, get health care. Health care is health care. I believe that strongly. And get people into a better situation. This is something that the God believers aren't doing in spite of their believing that they're going to heaven because they're better than everybody else, because they're better than us, because we are godless people. But the fact of the matter is, these godless people are going to change the world. And we're going to start with blankets, and we're going to screw up. We're going to fail at something here, and then we're going to learn. I've already learned so much from the amount of failing I have done since we started this church less than 30 days ago. And let me tell you, we are already improving and making this better. I hope that you guys will join us, that you will follow here on YouTube, and that you will join us on Wednesday. Hopefully by then we're going home finally done so I can show it to you guys. What happened is that, by the way, I changed the values of Korihorism. You'll see them that reflected on the website, the Church of Korihor, and the big difference that we're going to be making here. I got distracted. Sorry. So the big difference that we're making in the values. So I was on Maven's show about a week ago, and some of you were there. Maven's show, she has a channel called When We Choose, and it's a pro-choice channel. And while we are not a political organization, we do not endorse political movements. I was there to talk about the moral question of antinatalism, which is the idea that maybe the worst thing that we do, most unethical thing we do, is to have children. I personally believe that probably the most unethical thing human beings do is to eat meat, which is something I do, but more because we raise animals just for meat than anything else. I personally think we should I think we should move in a massive way towards cultured meats and towards the much healthier solution that can come from cultivating meat without having to raise and slaughter animals. And so, but when it comes to bringing children into the world, it is a remarkable thing that we actually bring an incredible amount of pain and suffering into existence that didn't have to exist. And so one of the things that we can do is to make their lives more valuable to them, and to help children to be stewards of their emotional wellness. And I do love that idea. And so I called it, in the original draft of the 12 values of Korohorism, I called that the joy of children, thinking that meant the joy experienced by children. When I went on a pro-choice channel, I learned from this woman, from Maven and her audience, that the phrase joy of children is triggering to women. Sorry about that, trigger warning, especially women who are conservative. Because that's a phrase, or similar to a phrase, that's been sold to women, that their purpose is to have joy by having children. And I went, what? That is not what we meant by that. Okay. And I asked my wife immediately after that, I said, are you serious? I said, listen, Molly, I say joy of children, first thing that you think of, first word you think of. And she said patriarchy. And I said, are you kidding me? And I'm like, and she's like, yeah, we're more than just incubators for babies. And I'm like, this is not okay. This term has to change. So after wrestling with it, joy of children became the joy of childhood, became sanctuary for childhood, which feels very churchy. And eventually it came to be something much deeper or much broader of an aspect than just what I had originally meant, which was that children need to have room to grow and to be children. And that's why we don't recruit, and we don't recruit's not the right word. We don't convert children. We don't convert persons under 18 years of age, because we think that church is for grown-ups and children shouldn't be locked into a church from the time they are young. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't have a children's ministry in the future where we maybe put on events where healthy development can help young people to grow and develop emotional awareness, develop emotional intelligence, and so forth. Those are all very much in keeping with this value, as we are calling it now, which is room to play. But that's not just for children, that's for inner children. In fact, in the history of cohortism, it's been more about inner children, being healing your inner child. We use ritual to heal the inner child and to heal the inner self. And to have ritual, as Britt Hartley said, and I know I already said her name more than once, until Brittany tells me keep my name out your damn mouth, I'm probably going to talk about it a lot, because from that one conversation, I got a lot. And she and I have talked about this before, that ritual requires room to play. And I believe that so very much, as we have gone, developing more rituals, whether it's the divorce ritual, which we're calling the uncoupling, whether it is the transition celebration ritual that we're developing with Jules, who has agreed to help us with developing that, different things in there. We call that the chrysalis, or whether it is the family banquet, the chosen family banquet. I will be spearheading, coming up with some of those rituals, and then we will be asking some more people to join in with us. What does a chosen family ritual or the chosen family banquet look like? And then, of course, I am also developing a training and a ritual for and process for weddings, so that we can start doing weddings here in the near future as we ordain luminaries. And, all of these things require room to play. There's that inner critic that tells you, this is stupid. What are you doing? This is dumb. Who says that this is a ritual? If this is my fundamental belief when it comes to ritual and to room to play. If your intuition says, I need this, then you need it. And if you're the only one who needs it, you need it. You need it emotionally. You part of being a whole person, and this is only since we started the Church of Korihor that I've really come to understand this in myself, is that you can't just be, it's not just about physical wellness, and it's not just about spiritual wellness. It's also about, or not just physical wellness and mental wellness. It's about spiritual wellness, which I believe is part of mental wellness. But I do believe that it is not one that is necessarily treated just in therapy. As a matter of fact, I think largely it's neglected by therapy. And I think that we need to be able to develop this third new health area by having room to play. So that's one. Another one is that I had one of the values of Korohorism was labor equity. I do believe in labor equity personally. I do believe much about what is labor equity is political and requires political change. So I still believe that it is a value for me. I think it is a value for most of the people out there. But because it is so politicized, I am going to go ahead. I did decide that we are going to remove labor equity as one of the 12 values and replace it with eco stewardship, that we are going to focus on that we have one pale blue dot here where we make our stand as Carl Sagan. If you don't know that, if you don't know those references, there's a lot of Carl Sagan in our work here, and especially in our hymns. You definitely do yourself a big favor by going and listening to Carl's reading of the pale blue dot, and learn the story of the pale blue dot, and even buy his book and read his book, The Pale Blue Dot. Is just about the most beautiful, spiritually uplifting thing I know. Carl Sagan knew. I think Carl Sagan knew the value of spiritual wellness. I think he knew. And I mean, otherwise, why did he make such gorgeous things to celebrate our spiritual pursuit of wonder and of the knowledge of the universe? He was amazing. Carl Sagan transformed this world. I really do believe it. I've said many times, if I could start a church in the name of somebody who was real. I know people think like Christian churches are named after somebody who is real. I don't personally buy it. I'm not saying it didn't happen. If I was to name the Church of Korihor after a person who lived in history, it would be Carl Sagan, or maybe Christopher Hitchens. But they both would have hated that. They were good men. They were men. And they both changed this world in a positive way, I personally believe. In their own way, with all their complexities and with all their shortcomings, because they were human beings. Korihor was not a human being. Korihor is fictional, and that's why we named the church after him. Because frankly, it's a dishonor to atheists to name a church after them, frankly. Korihor can't care. Korihor becomes whatever we want him to be. That's why people worship Jesus. That's why people worship Muhammad. Well, they don't worship Muhammad. They emulate Muhammad. You're welcome, Muslims. But they can make him in their mind into anything they want him to be. That would be a dishonor to Carl Sagan. That would be a dishonor to his memory, to make him into something other than he was. And it's the same with Hitch. Same with a lot of incredible women out there that in my male toxicity, I couldn't tell you their names off the top of my head. Maybe Helen Keller. But there's but the fact of the matter is that in a shared myth environment, Korihor is valuable because he wasn't real, because he's a legend. He had a story, and in that story, he is the martyr of reason. We love having you anyways, Lena. Thank you for being here today. Hey, friends. So we are pretty much done here. I want to thank everybody for being here. I want to thank Jules for the incredible sermon. And I want to thank Jenny for taking the oath of reason. I'm so proud of Jenny. I can't tell you guys. A few conversations with her first sermon, and realizing this person is not a follower in this movement. This person is a leader. And I said to her, and the first time that she said to me, she sent me a text and she said, Joe, is it possible that I could ever preach a sermon for the Church of Korihor? I think that we'd signed this document she'd signed as one of the board of directors 2 days before. And I said, yeah, you're a director. You are part of the clergy of the Church of Korihor. You can preach a sermon this Sunday. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, is it possible one day I could be an apostle in this church? I'm like, we don't have apostles. We have heralds, and they're so much better than apostles. But yes, if that's in your heart to direct towards that, yes. But then we also need luminaries. And like I said, we need 100 luminaries at least across this country, coast to coast. And then when we reach that goal, you better believe. What's up, Coach? I am the prestigious and pretentious First Herald Joe. Thank you very much for getting my styling right. Yeah. So I mean, I think that I think that this person is going to absolutely change the world. I think that she's keeping me honest already. We had a long conversation, as I said, day before yesterday, where we just talked about, where she talked about keeping financial transparency for the missions of reason and why it's so important to her. Jenny has run nonprofits before, so she knows what she's doing there. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, Jenny. What you think needs to be done there when it comes to transparency, let me just tell you straight up right now, what Jenny thinks we need to do, we're going to do. And I trust her implicitly. And so, yeah, now that Jenny has taken the oath of reason, she is prepared to be ordained. and to the heralds, which luminaries are not required to join the church. So just can't stress that enough. Anyways, I did buy enough time, I hope, for people to be able to look at this QR code, raise your phone, you don't have to actually take a picture with it, just turn your camera on, and a little link will pop up there that takes you to Zephy. That will take you to the page where you can help us to raise the money that we need to buy fabric. I will mention that it was mentioned to me by someone very close to me that we should maybe make it feasible for people to buy blankets on Amazon and send them. I hate it. I hate the idea that Amazon would make money off of our philanthropy. But if that would make it easier on people, well, I'm not against it. So I said, listen, you tell me how we can get that done. We'll put it out there. If that's what people want to do, that's what we'll do. The reason why we haven't done anything like that is one of my directors, Nathan, and I had a conversation. You can watch here on the channel where we talked about that. Let's make really high quality blankets or purchase really high quality blankets, not just cheap ones. And I said, and these warming centers, they've been calling on and asking for, send us used blankets that have been washed, used blankets that you don't need. And I was like, used blankets, let's get new blankets. Let's get quality blankets. Let's get like really good things. And he said, don't do that. And like I said, look, we fail forward here. I said, why not? And he said, if you put an expensive looking thing on a person who's sleeping rough, you paint a target on their back because other people will see it and they will use violence to get it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. See, this is why you talk to people who are experts. So then I sent him, I asked ChatGPT, I'm like, okay, if we were to make blankets simply that didn't fray, so you didn't have to have a sewing machine so you could hem them. Just make sure this isn't an emergency. Sorry. I'm trying to make sure that I don't neglect emergencies. Perfect. Is that I asked it, what's a good fabric that we can use to make blankets where we don't have to hem them? And it said polar fleece. Where's my polar fleece? Must have taken it into the other room. Anyway, I said, why not blizzard fleece, which is what you can buy at Joann's. And it said blizzard fleece is softer and it is, it has better strength and durability than polar fleece, but it doesn't cut the wind as well. And it does, and it's more expensive. And I said, so I sent this polar fleece. I could get a bolt of it for like $3 a yard, $3 to $4 a yard. And I sent that to Nate and to Nathan. And I said, this, you can cut off of a roll and it's a blanket. And it's a blanket that cuts the wind better than other fabric. And he said, perfect. And I said, we can cut 1.5 yards of this fabric off. And that is a big, warm, comfy blanket, because basically we need blankets that you have to put these blankets out on the streets knowing that they are disposable. This is going to get dirty. It's going to get torn up. It's going to get ratted up, and then it's going to get thrown away fast. That's why I said, look, we got to get 300 blankets. I'll tell you why I came up with that number. Nobody's asked me this yet, but I figured that's just because not enough people know. Where did 300 come from? The day after Thanksgiving, I went down and volunteered at a warming center with Nate. And I had a chance to just go in and clean up. That's all we were there for. We were there for less than an hour. Nate does these where he goes and he volunteers at these warming centers all night. And there's a possibility this week, because there's a cold snap coming through, and there's probably going to be warming center authorization coming up this week. So there's a possibility we'll go and volunteer this week. And I was cleaning up. I was cleaning a bathroom. I went out and I helped to fold up tables. They had served breakfast that day. It's one of the few days, so they actually served food that day. And then I was cleaning up, and then somebody said, "Hey, can you go and help that guy with the blankets?" The blankets. Yes, I will help with the blankets. And they're like, "Yeah, go grab that garbage bag full of blankets and take it out to that guy's truck. He takes the blankets and washes them." And I met the guy real briefly, but we had maybe like 4 words conversation. He was tired. I was tired. We were all exhausted. This is very early in the morning. And I went and I stood behind his truck and counted. Counted blankets. And there were about 20 blankets that this guy basically just comes in, picks them up out of the warming center, puts them in the back of his car, and then goes and he washes them. And then when there's another night for the warming center, he brings them back, I guess. And I said, "Okay, how many warming centers near where we can get to?" I figured there's about 10. Okay, maybe 10 to 12. And I thought, okay, so if you were to come up with 200 blankets, or maybe 300 blankets, you would pretty much double the number of blankets that are in circulation right now out here. And so I thought then we'd have enough that we can go replace some of the blankets that are ratted and torn and destroyed, put them into the hands of these warming centers, and then whatever runs over, we go out to the car camps and start giving them out there. And then from there, we go out to the streets and we start giving them to people directly. So, yeah, we could buy blankets from the DI, and that's not a bad idea, Gene. I think we're probably actually going to do at least some of that because they actually have pretty good blankets at DI sometimes. DI is Deseret Industries. It's a Mormon-owned thrift store out here. But the fact of the matter is, like you think about like Jules out there volunteering in Albuquerque, right? If we send Jules a bolt of fabric and some good shears and say, "Jules," and a check, because we believe in compensating people for their time, and say, "Jules, go cut blankets off of that bolt and then go out there and then get them to those warming centers out there, but go out and put them on people," she's going to do it. She's going to do it because she's got that caring giving heart. We need these luminaries in every state in the union, and we need to show to ourselves, we need to show to the believers, we need to show to the world, and we just need to do it to do it, that we are good people. Godless people are good people. Yeah, we could save it. We could save on shipping by buying. It's a great input. By buying it at the local Joann's Fabrics. The problem is that it's so much more expensive. Basically, this polar fleece stuff. Like I bought I bought a yard of it. That frankly wasn't enough. That's how we came up with the metric. It should be 1.5 yards. I bought a yard of it, and the only thing I could find was Eddie Bauer branded, which was $20 a yard. $20 a yard. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Why? It's polar fleece, and it was because of the brand. Are you kidding me? $20 a yard? And I'm like, look, we would do it, but I can tell you right now we can't do it for $4,000, which is our budget for this. Guys, all we need to do this for Utah to change these people's lives right now is $4,000. And so that's why the thermometer, when you go to this link and you see a chance you can donate $1. You can donate $1 a month. We're asking people to give $25 if you can, if it's affordable for you, and do not give anything that is not affordable for you. And you go out there with $25, we can easily put at least 2 blankets on people who are cold out there, where it costs us $20 to buy a yard of this fabric at Joann's. At the Joann's, it's like across the street from me. So I'm like, I said, look, let's do this right. Let's go out there and get it. But here's where I do want to mention this. So my sister, who is a dear woman in my life, said to me, it's just disappointing that I can't just add blankets to my Amazon cart and send them to you. And I'm like, but then we have to ship them. Then we have to, then again, we have to make a separate trip. And I'm like, do you really think that the humans would do it? Are more likely to donate if they can buy blankets and send them from Amazon? And she said, I think a lot of people would. This is why I say, look, let me fail forward. I just want to know from you guys. You can go to corahor.org, use our contact form to send me feedback, or leave it in the comments on one of our videos and say, Joe, I really do think rather than giving the mission money, I would really rather buy it on Amazon and send it to somebody. If that's the case, then we'll come up with a plan. But I mean, at this point, I'm inclined to say, let's not waste any of our energy or effort on doing that. Let's just raise the money to buy the fabric and go out there and use the fabric. You know what these basically are, what these blankets were making? They're basically army blankets. Remember back in in wartime, they'd send out blankets and put, and they would just make them as cheap and easy as they could possibly be. That's basically what we're doing. We're making army blankets and we're putting them on people. So I want to thank you guys for being here. We're well past an hour and a half, which is a little bit longer, but I was so glad to have Jenny on early this morning so we could do this Oath of Reason and get her on the path towards a better, towards her future here with us and to improving the Church of Korihor. And listen, you guys, thank you so much for being with us. And until next time, may the light of reason flash within you.